Welcome back to the deep dive. We are shifting gears today. Usually when we talk about travel in Asia or, specifically Taiwan, the conversation immediately drifts toward food.
Oh, yeah.
We talk about the night markets, the dumplings, the endless search for the perfect cup of tea.
Which is fair. I mean, Taiwan's culinary reputation is very well earned.
It is, and we are not knocking the food. But today, I want you to take that mental image of Taiwan, the steaming baskets of dumplings, the neon signs, and just kind of set it to the side for a moment.
Okay.
We're zooming in on the city of Taichung, and we're going to look at it through a completely different lens.
You're trading the chopsticks for calipers today.
Exactly. We are looking at a stack of urban planning documents, sustainability reports from defense contractors, and tourism guides that paint Taichung not as a food capital, but as the Seattle of Taiwan.
And just to clarify for everyone listening, when we say Seattle, we're not talking about coffee culture or the rain.
No.
We're talking about its industrial identity. Seattle is the home of Boeing. It is synonymous with aerospace.
Precisely. The argument our sources make is that Taichung is the beating heart of Asia's aerospace industry. This is a city that designs supersonic fighter jets, maintains the most advanced fleets in the region, and supplies critical components for the commercial airliners you probably flew on to get there.
It's a fascinating pivot. You have this gritty, high-precision industrial capability sitting right next to, and in some cases, physically overlapping, with these massive, eco-friendly urban redevelopment projects.
So our mission today is to take you on a virtual tour. We're going to walk through a park that used to be a runway. We're going to sneak into a visitor center that is hiding a full-size commercial airliner, and we're going to end up deep in the Golden Valley of precision engineering.
It's definitely a side of the island that doesn't, make it onto the usual travel blogs.
So let's unpack this Seattle claim.
Yeah.
To really understand it, you have to look at the map of Taichung. Right in the middle of the city, there's this massive green space called Central Park.
It's huge. We're talking 67 hectares. To give you a sense of scale, that is significantly larger than Dan Forest Park in Taipei, which is usually the benchmark for parks in Taiwan.
It's a massive green lung in the Shuinan Trade Park District.
For sure.
But if you look at the shape of it on, say, Google Maps, it's weird. It's not a square block like Central Park in New York. It's this long, jagged, linear strip.
That's because the park is a ghost. That shape is preserving the footprint of the old Shuinan Airport.
Which I think is just such a bold urban planning decision.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when a city closes an airport, developers are, salivating.
Yeah.
They want to bulldoze everything, flatten the land, and put up a grid of high-rise condos to maximize the square footage.
Right. And Shuinan wasn't just some small recreational airstrip. This place had serious history. It started as a Japanese military base during the colonial era. Then it became a major hub for the Republic of China Air Force. And eventually, it served as the domestic airport for central Taiwan. For over 70 years, this was the gateway.
But cities grow. And eventually, having jets taking off and landing right in the middle of a dense downtown area becomes a problem.
It's noisy.
It's noisy, it restricts building heights, and it's a safety risk.
So in 2004, the operations moved to the new international airport on the outskirts. But instead of erasing that history, the architects decided to lean into it. The planning documents describe a transition from a gray site, concrete, hangars, tarmac, to a green lung.
But they kept the bones of the gray site, the main pedestrian thoroughfare running through the park.
Yeah.
That is the old runway.
I love that detail. You can be pushing a stroller or walking your dog, and you are literally treading on the same tarmac where F-104 starfighters used to scramble.
It grounds the space and time.
It really does.
The sources also mention a specific landmark along that path, a sculpture described as a stylized airplane eternally taking off.
It serves as a visual anchor. It reminds you that this tranquility is new, but I think the most interesting part of the park isn't just the history, but the future tech. You mentioned smart city earlier.
Mm-hmm.
This park isn't just grass and trees. It's designed as a machine to regulate the city's climate.
This is the Matcha Lake and the visual experience area the sources talk about.
Right. These white architectural lattice structures you see in the photos, they aren't just art, they're functional. They act as sensors, they manage stormwater runoff to prevent flooding during typhoons, and they help lower the ambient temperature of the district. It's an urban heat island mitigation strategy disguised as a park.
So in a way, the park is a piece of engineering, just like the planes that used to fly there.
Exactly, which is a perfect segue because hidden inside this eco-park is something that, frankly, sounds like a lie when you first hear about it.
The visitor center.
Yes.
Now, visitor center is terrible branding. When I hear visitor center, I think of a rack of faded brochures, maybe a vending machine, and a clean bathroom.
A place to get out of the sun for 5 minutes?
Right. But the Central Park Visitor Center is actually a stealth aviation museum. The sources say the interior design is modeled specifically after the Manhattan International Terminal.
They really committed to the bit. The waiting area chairs are made from repurposed luggage conveyor belts. The entry gates look like airport security scanners.
It feels retro future.
Totally.
But the centerpiece, I still can't believe they pulled this off. They literally dragged a real, actual Boeing 737 fuselage inside the building.
It's not a fiberglass replica.
No, it's the real deal. It's a retired fuselage. They stripped it down and integrated it into the architecture. You can walk into the cabin. You can sit in the passenger seats. But the part that matters, the part that makes this a pilgrimage for geeks, is the cockpit.
It's open.
It is open. You can go in, sit in the captain's chair, and touch everything. Usually if you go to a museum, the cockpit is behind plexiglass.
Right.
Or if you're on a real flight, it's behind a bulletproof door.
Hmm.
Here, you can flip the switches, pull the throttle levers, feel the tactile click of the avionics.
That is incredibly rare. It effectively gamifies the history. Instead of reading a plaque that says this was an airport, you sit in the pilot's seat and physically engage with the machinery.
And you can fly it, well, virtually. They have a realistic flight simulator right there that simulates taking off from the old Schweinin Airport.
So you can see what the city looked like from the air 20 years ago.
Exactly. And then there's Gate 1, which is this immersive theater. It's a 270-degree projection where you take off from Taichung and fly over global landmarks like Las Vegas or New York.
It sounds like a fantastic third place. Not home, not work, just a cool, free public space.
It's a flight theme park disguised as a municipal building. But let's zoom out a bit, because while the park and the visitor center are great for tourists, they are essentially tributes. They're the museum piece.
Mm-hmm.
The real reason we're calling this the Seattle of Taiwan is what's happening right next door.
You're talking about AT.
The Aerospace Industrial Development Corporation.
The acronym sounds a bit dry, but this is the heavyweight champion of Taiwanese industry. If you want a comparison, think of AIDC as the NASA plus the Boeing of Taiwan rolled into one.
And their headquarters borders the park. You could literally stand in the park and look at the fence of the facility.
It's an organization that mirrors Taiwan's own history. It started as part of the Air Force, moved under the Ministry of Economic Affairs, and is now privatized. But the core mission has always been singular: defense autonomy.
We need to be able to protect ourselves.
Exactly.
And this is where we get into the hard tech. In the 1980s, Taiwan was in a really tough geopolitical spot. They desperately needed modern fighter jets to replace their aging fleet, but due to intense diplomatic pressure, the U.S. and European nations were very hesitant to sell them anything advanced.
They were effectively cut off from the top-tier arms market.
So they had to DIY it. They decided to build their own supersonic fighter jet from scratch.
Which, we should emphasize, is an insanely difficult engineering challenge. There are very few countries on Earth that can design and build a functional supersonic fighter.
And ADC did it. They built the IDF, the Indigenous Defense Fighter.
Also known as the FCK-1 Chinkuo.
Yes. ADC designed it, tested it, and built it right there in Taichung. It was a moment of immense national pride.
And that wasn't a one-off. That legacy is active right now. The sources highlight a new aircraft that is rolling off the line as we speak, the Brave Eagle.
The T-5 Brave Eagle. This is the new star of the show. It's an advanced jet trainer, or AJT. They're delivering 66 of these to the Air Force by 2026.
That's a significant upgrade.
It's beautiful. Twin engines, fully digital glass cockpit, advanced avionics. It's designed to train pilots who will eventually fly F-16s or Mirages, and it is being born in Taichung.
But here's the thing that justifies the Seattle comparison for the global economy. ADC doesn't just build planes for the Taiwan Air Force.
Not at all.
If you, our listener, flew on a commercial plane to get to Taiwan, there is a very high statistical probability that ADC made parts of that plane.
Oh, absolutely. The sources list their client roster, and it's a who's who of aviation. Boeing, Airbus, Bombardier.
What kind of parts are we talking about?
We aren't talking about screws and rivets. We're talking about major structural components. If you're on a Boeing 737 MAX or a 787 Dreamliner or an Airbus A320, parts of the fuselage, The cockpit doors, the engine casings, those were likely manufactured in Taichung.
That brings up the question of scale. You can't support an industry like that with just one factory, no matter how big ADC is. You need a supply chain.
And this is the key insight for anyone interested in how manufacturing actually works. The sources describe a phenomenon called the Golden Valley.
It sounds like a location from a fantasy novel.
It does, but it's a very real, very gritty 60-kilometer corridor along the base of Mount Dadu. In this one strip of land, you have the highest concentration of precision machinery manufacturers in the world.
The numbers are staggering. The reports say there are something like 1,500 manufacturers in this corridor.
And a workforce of 300,000 people. This is what economists call a cluster. In Silicon Valley, you have a cluster of software engineers. In the Golden Valley, you have a cluster of people who know how to cut metal with micron-level precision.
And the advantage of that is speed.
Exactly. If ADC is building the Brave Eagle and they need a specific type of high-grade titanium bracket or a specialized drill bit for composite wing, they don't have to order it from Germany and wait 6 weeks.
They can drive down the street.
They can drive down the street, they can prototype, test, and manufacture at a speed that other countries can't match because the entire supply chain is within a 1-hour drive.
They call it the A-Team 4.0 Alliance.
Which is a fantastic name. It's this formal alliance of suppliers that allows them to hunt as a pack. It's why Lockheed Martin partnered with ADC to open the F-16 maintenance center there in 2020.
That was a huge headline in the defense world.
Massive.
Yeah.
Taiwan has a huge fleet of F-16s, the largest in the region. Before, if a major component broke or needed a refit, it often had to go back to the U.S.
A logistical nightmare.
Total nightmare.
Oh.
Goes to Taichung. ADC has become the regional hub for sustaining the most advanced fighters in the world.
So we have the history at the park and the heavy industry at ADC. But the sources point to a third pillar of this story. And I think this is where the smart city concept really lands. It's not just about building weapons or planes. It's about how that technology bleeds into civilian life.
Right, because you might assume a city with 1,500 factories would be a smoggy industrial nightmare.
A place you want to avoid.
Right. But the planning documents for the Shuinan Economic and Trade Park, that's the district surrounding Central Park, focus heavily on low-carbon, innovation, and zero waste.
It seems contradictory. Heavy industry is usually dirty.
It is, until you apply the tech. ADDC isn't just bending metal with hammers anymore. They are using 5G and IoT, the Internet of Things.
Can you explain that connection? How does 5G help build a fuselage?
It's about smart manufacturing. They've partnered with local universities to put sensors on every single machine. These sensors monitor the health of the equipment in real time. They can predict if a drill bit is about to vibrate too much or get too hot before it ruins a $1 million wing part.
So it saves waste.
It saves massive amounts of waste, material, and energy. And ADC is taking that expertise and pivoting to green energy. They actually have a whole division building biogas microturbine generators.
Wait, biogas?
Yeah, think about it. A jet engine is basically just a really high-tech turbine. ADC knows turbines better than anyone, so they are building microturbines that can run on waste gas to generate electricity.
That is a fascinating crossover, from fighter jets to recycling.
And that's the Seattle vibe again. Seattle has Amazon and Microsoft sitting next to Boeing, this mix of software, hardware, and lifestyle. Taichung is doing the same thing. The sensors that keep a jet in the air are the ancestors of the sensors that regulate the temperature in Central Park.
So the smart city isn't just a buzzword here. It's a byproduct of having this high-tech aerospace capability.
Exactly. The infrastructure of the city is becoming as precise as the machines they build.
So let's bring this down to earth for the listener. If they are in Taiwan or planning a trip, how do they actually experience this? Because as cool as ADC is, you can't exactly walk onto the assembly line at a defense contractor and ask for a tour.
No, please don't do that. You will get arrested, and they will not be nice about it.
Right.
But we have a specific itinerary for 2 types of travelers to get the experience.
Okay, let's start with the geek. The person who knows the difference between a turbofan and a turbojet.
If that's you, you go straight to the Central Park Visitor Center, do not pass go, sit in the 737 cockpit, play with the flight sim, immerse yourself in the mechanics of it.
And then?
Then, walk outside and stand near the ADC headquarters. You can find the location on any map. There is a specific energy to standing next to a facility where you know history is being written. You might hear the roar of a test flight if you're lucky, that Chinku Airport is nearby. But just knowing that inside those walls, the Brave Eagle is being assembled. For an aviation buff, that's a cool feeling.
Okay, what about the lifestyle traveler? The person who just wants a nice afternoon, maybe some good photos, and wants to understand the city's vibe.
You walk the length of the park, start at the north end, and walk south along the path of the old runway. Do it at sunset.
The lighting on the visual experience area structures is supposed to be beautiful at night.
It is. And keep an eye out for that stylized airplane sculpture we mentioned. It really gives you a sense of the scale of the place. You are standing in the middle of a dense city, but it feels open. It justifies the Seattle nickname, not just the industry, but that appreciation for quality of life and the environment.
And to close the loop on the intro, you can still get the bubble tea afterwards.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
We aren't saying don't get the bubble tea. In fact, Taichung has the Chun Chui Tang Tea House, which claims to be the original inventor.
a pilgrimage site in its own right.
Definitely. Just know that when you are drinking that tea, you are doing it in a city that is simultaneously building supersonic jets and inventing the future of green manufacturing.
It adds a little flavor to the experience.
It really does. I think that's a perfect place to land this plane.
I see what you did there.
I had to do it. But before we go, here's a final thought for you to mull over. We talk a lot about military technology trickling down, like how GPS started as a military project and now it helps you find a pizza place.
Right, or duct tape, or the internet.
Exactly. But think about that in the context of a whole city. Taichung is taking the nervous system of a fighter jet, the sensors, the data processing, the efficiency, the durability, and applying it to a public park and an urban district. It suggests a future where our cities might function with the same precision and responsiveness as a high-performance aircraft.
That is a wild thought, a city that flies.
It's worth thinking about next time you're waiting for a bus. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Taichung's aerospace secrets. Look up a picture of the brave eagle when you have a second. It's a beautiful bird.
See you next time.